having a little dance party in that.
I'm just trying to break you up in the green room window there.
Yes. Well, welcome back to Crimson Cast. I'm Grace Ybarra. That is Galen Clavio. And we're having fun.
We're trying. We were getting ready to start this episode, and Grace is like, this is going to be a depressing episode. And I'm like, no, it's not going to be.
Not with that attitude. Fix it.
We are going to fix it. We're going to make it happy. And I told Grace, we already got the depressing episode out of the way yesterday. If you haven't watched that, Scott and I gave a bit of a State of the Union address on where the basketball program is right now. So we're going to mostly avoid that. We do have to talk about Michigan State a little bit.
Just briefly.
We're just a touch of it. But nothing can get your mood down because you are what?
Oh, look, I'm going to out myself right now on this podcast. Everyone that knows me, close to me, I'm like a Disney adult, and that's okay. I made peace with it. Alex Bozich from Inside the Hall, him and I are like the Disney adults of Indiana athletics media. So I worked with him at Inside the Hall. I didn't know he was a Disney guy, and that like became our instant connection. You would think it's covering Indiana basketball together. No, it's like we both love Disney World. He literally texted me like 2 weeks ago, just a picture from a ride queue, and I knew exactly where he was. So I can't be brought down right now because I'm going to Disney World for a few days with my mom. So yeah, we have nothing to be sad about right now.
Correct. But we were having a conversation about the fact that you're leaving tomorrow for this.
Yes.
And you're flying on Southwest Airlines, which
this is my first time on this new.
Yeah. There's changes that have happened with the Southwest. What the Southwest we've known for 20 plus years or however long you've been flying is now no longer that way. And one of the things that's changed is that there are no 2 free bags, and you're not even a check the bag person, I discovered about 3 minutes ago.
Yeah, I think everyone in life has a very, it defines their personality. Are you a check the bag person? Are you not? I'm very much, it is me, my personal item, and my carry-on against the world. And that's it. I don't like to wait after I get home at the baggage carousel. I just want to get in my car and go. What are you?
I'm the exact same that you are. In fact, I often don't even have a carry-on. I just have my personal item. And
you can pack a lot more efficiently than I can.
4 days, I can get 3 changes of clothes and a laptop in a backpack, which counts as a personal item because it fits under the seat in front of me. And I'm good to go with that. And so I don't even bother with the bins, but this has been a problem with Southwest.
Yes.
Apparently over the last couple of months, as people have been having like where their seat is, since you now have reserved seats, and where.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Well, that's why I brought it up, and you got mad at me for.
No, I know, and now I'm getting like you're gonna manifest me not having overhead space.
No. I'm just trying to prep you.
Okay.
See, here's the thing. You, I think, as much as anybody I know, would make someone move their bag that was not sitting where the bag was if your bag needed a spot. I just have this feeling like you can turn very quickly in an airplane aisle, right?
Well, this is a funny thing that you bring up because actually on our way down to Miami for the national championship, we had a whole snafu with like flights getting delayed and then missing connections and stuff. Somehow end up on a direct flight to Miami, which wasn't even where we were originally flying to.
I know this because I was picking you up. And yes, it was like,
all of this.
We're going to be Fort Lauderdale. Actually, no, but go on.
So we get on this flight literally like 10 minutes before it takes off. There's 2 open seats left. We take both of them. There's not a whole lot of overhead room at this point. It does not, match up with where our seats are. So bags way in the back.
Yeah.
Way in the back. And that's a nightmare for getting off the plane. So I'm sitting there in like the middle seat of this row looking at everyone. Because, everyone gets up when the plane lands and they just stand in the aisle, which I guess I'm a shorter person, so I can kind of just stand up in my seat.
Right.
But it clogs the aisle real quick. And I'm like, how do I get back to my bag? So I decided that I would weave my way back before everyone got off the plane, and then I would just like come with the people that were in the row that my bag was at, because I didn't want to wait for everyone to deplane. But when you had this inkling that I was maybe like weaselly and would tell someone to move, that is what I did, because I didn't want you to be waiting for me at the airport for like an extra 30 minutes. Long way of saying
good. It was fine. I ended up running into Omar Cooper's cousin in the airport while wearing Omar Cooper's jersey number and his name on the back of the jersey, waiting for you to get off the plane. So it worked out all the way around.
It was a mess. It was a mess of a day.
It got messy later too. But yes, I have a surprise for you.
Oh goodness, what?
I actually have two surprises. So as we've seen, we've been adding gradually to the backdrop here.
Yes,
getting better. I'm moving the table a little bit, so now the on-air sign is no longer fuzzy. But we've added some things to the mix back there. So we're debuting this. It's the first time anybody's seen this on the podcast. But we did manage to procure
That's bigger than I thought it was.
It's pretty big. Yeah, I sent you a picture.
I thought it was going to be like a little cutesy.
It's like this is for those who are listening and not watching. This is a replica 3D printed IU CFP National Championship trophy.
I want one. Where'd you get it?
It's a secret.
Oh my gosh.
But your birthday's coming up in like 11 months. So I'm sure
January will be here before you know it.
I got something else though that I'm adding.
Oh, what?
So this is a Pat O'Brien's hurricane glass, but it's filled with confetti from the field.
You have much better confetti than I have.
This confetti. So this was the same confetti that was in the grocery bag, all wadded up, that had been carried around in my pocket most of the night. I actually have gone through and I have air dried and puffed out all of the pieces. So now they're like back to where they used to be. There's one just fell down on the floor.
Not you doing like a whole hair care routine for these freaking confetti pieces.
You got to do what you got to do. I've got more. So if you want something like this, I will make it for you.
Well, I wish I had mine like readily accessible. Mine is just a bunch of those like gold streamers, which they're good, but I think I have like maybe 2 red pieces of confetti.
Which doesn't really represent what we got.
No.
I've got plenty of red and plenty of white, so we can figure something out.
Okay. I need to figure out what I want to do with it.
Why don't you think about that?
Yeah, I need to get my creative juices flowing. If anybody has any idea of anything they've done with confetti, let me know.
I know Bison Drop was selling like little pocket glass things full of confetti. So I'm sure you'll come up with something more clever than that.
Yeah, I need to. I told myself I was going to buy one of those commemorative ticket things, and I forgot to do that. So I need to do that too.
I wouldn't. I bought one for the Big Ten championship game.
Oh.
I will tell you offline why you shouldn't order one of those.
You know what? I could also just like make one myself.
Are you talking about the framed ones though? Like the separate framed ones?
No, I was just going to get like a ticket, but I feel like I could make that myself.
We'll talk about it. Yeah.
My thing is my dad went to the Colts Super Bowl, which we lost to the Saints. And he obviously had a physical ticket back then because it's been so long since we've been to a freaking Super Bowl. And he has this cool like display with the ticket and like everything. And that's what like I want one of those. But my iPhone I can't really put up there.
No, it doesn't have the same kind of impact. And plus you need the iPhone, unless you're gonna like give that iPhone
a screenshot of my Apple Wallet framed.
I feel like we're gonna end up doing, or maybe just one of those electronic picture frame things, but just have a picture of the ticket on a rotating carousel in it. I like this idea. Anyway, just a reminder, folks, we are brought to you by HomefieldApparel.com, your place to go for the finest in college fashions, the softest fabrics, the coolest designs. Of course, this was getting some play. The jacket was getting some play on Twitter earlier this week as people have discovered where you can purchase this. You can purchase it, of course, in the team shop, which is obviously a lot of people don't stop in there because it's not really on the way unless you're coming in from the Memorial Stadium side. But yeah, this thing is awesome. I love it. But also picked up the 16 Windiana shirt as well.
I thought that was just going to say 9 Windiana.
No, it's the full 16.
That's crazy.
I know.
I don't
wild.
think I'd even seen those yet.
We like Homefield made a 9 Indiana t-shirt and then had to add 7 more wins to it to actually represent what Indiana football did this year. It's nuts.
Unfathomable still.
But you can use the code HOME23 to get 15% off your first order at Homefield Apparel. You can also stop by Homefield at Tracks. Are you wearing what I think you're wearing?
Yeah, Galen got me this shirt for my birthday. That was just recently. It says Cignetti. I don't know if
you see almost we can see everything but the Cignetti bottom. But that was purchased at Homefield at Tracks.
Yes.
So you can get that and this, not this, but everything else that you've seen, you can buy at Homefield at Tracks.
We're just a walking ad.
Basically, yes. That's how commercialism works, right? But no, stop by Homefield.
That's our entire wardrobe.
Essentially, at this point, yes. We've cycled out old Homefield to replace it with new Homefield in our wardrobes at this point. Also, we are brought to you by Posh Hotel on Kirkwood. Kirkwood in Washington is your location. The finest in luxury accommodations is what you find when you walk in there. You've got a wonderful bar downstairs. You have the Curt Cignetti room in the back. You've got tremendous accommodations all the way through multiple floors, plus great views of downtown and great views of campus. Again, poshhotelbloomington.com. Check them out. New dates being opened right now for football season, and they are much needed as we're going to have a lot of people coming into town, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But let's drift into basketball to start with here, Grace, as we get started. You had the benefit or maybe the emotional cushion of watching this one from afar, whereas I was in the building for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think your experience was probably better.
Oh, definitely better because I was also like doing work. So when I didn't really want to watch it, I could do something else. You didn't have that benefit.
No. And it was one of those games where Indiana just they clearly weren't good enough to win that game, which is frustrating because you're playing at home. That really shouldn't be part of the equation. But every time Indiana would make a little run and would get somewhat close, Michigan State would just run it back out again. And it kind of felt like the game was constantly in this 8 to 13 point range, which I don't know about you, but when I watch basketball games, that's like the most frustrating aspect of a basketball game is when it feels stuck and you cannot get the game to get more or less than that margin.
It's like purgatory. Like you're stuck in this, I don't want to quote Mike Woodson, but like can't get over the hump. Purgatory.
Yeah. And
they didn't lead at all in that game at home. Yeah, not even 2-0.
No, it was 4-0 when Indiana scored their first bucket. And as you
better than wwhatever the Louisville game was. So
well, yeah, that was bad. Well, and it's interesting. This game had the Louisville game was real bad. I was it 18-0, 20-0. I think that it started off. It was let me look.
Nothing can be that bad.
I don't know if it was the worst start to an Indiana game I'd ever sat through, but it was pretty damn bad. That Louisville game. I'm looking it up. It was actually it was only 16-0. I remembered it being worse than that. So I guess memory clouds us. But yeah, this Michigan State Indiana game had some interesting synergy. Indiana didn't score their second bucket until about the 16-minute and 20-second mark. And at that point, it was 9-5. Indiana also only scored 4 points from the 8-minute mark of the second half on. It was 69-60 when they scored, and it finished 77-64. So this is a game that started slow for Indiana. It ended slow for Indiana. And in the middle, there was a whole lot of, wow, Indiana cannot really measure up either offensively or defensively with this Michigan State team, which we knew, but it still is frustrating a few days later simply because I feel like even if you are an average or a sub-average team, you've got to be able to perform better at home because we see it all over the Big Ten. This is not something where I'm holding Indiana to too high of a standard, I don't think. We see Northwestern win games that they probably shouldn't win at home. Penn State, maybe not Rutgers this year, but it happens often, and Indiana just looked like they had no answers in this one.
Yeah, especially frustrating after you were at the game, so you didn't have to be subjected to this, but it was a back-to-back on CBS where we had Ohio State, Purdue,
Yes.
as the game before it. So I'm watching Ohio State do exactly what you just described, beat a good team at home.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh, maybe we'll work some magic. No, there was no magic. I want to get your perspective on what it felt like watching it there. How were the vibes?
The crowd really wanted to get into it. And it was one of those games where you've been in Assembly Hall enough times, you can feel when the crowd could make a difference. And most of the time, I've found that Indiana is able to lay the foundation for the crowd to really make a difference, and they can impact the other team's offensive possessions. They can make it hard for them to follow along on defense. None of those things really happen in this game. And I give Michigan State a bunch of credit because they played hard, they played consistently, and every time the crowd would try to get into it, they pulled the rug out from under the crowd. It was also awkward a lot of the time. The booing of Reed Bailey by the student section was not ideal. It was not ideal, and it was noticeable. And so people were getting mad at the student section for doing it. But it really just kind of felt like Indiana didn't have answers, and you could sense it when they were on the floor. And that's a tough spot to be in as a fan, especially of a team that isn't terrible. Like, this is an Indiana team that had won 17 games coming into this. You felt like, well, Michigan State's not invincible. They'd lost at Minnesota. They had almost lost at Purdue earlier in the week. Granted, Purdue's a much better team than Indiana. And we'd seen Indiana beat Purdue. We'd seen Indiana beat UCLA. We'd seen Indiana beat Wisconsin. Like, it wasn't like there was an impossibility that Indiana would play at a high enough level. But in the arena, you could just feel the frustration growing more and more. And at halftime, it was an 8-point game. It probably should have been less. Indiana botched the last possession. And you just kind of felt like, well, I don't know what exactly they're planning on doing at this point to get back into it. And it felt like the crowd had just kind of resigned themselves to, if it didn't happen, that's just how it was going to be. It wasn't a happy resignation that the crowd had. It wasn't hostile, though. And that's the thing that I think has gotten lost in all of this. It wasn't like the crowd was there and was actively negative. I mean, you did see that at the end of the Mike Woodson era in a couple of games. It wasn't like that. But it also really felt like with about 3 minutes to go, really even before that, maybe 5 minutes to go, the crowd was like, this is clearly not happening. We're not sticking around for it. And I saw a lot of people streaming for the exits early.
How was the crowd turnout just to begin with from the beginning?
It was fine. I mean, the balcony above the student section, which is also the student section, was not full, but most of the crowd was there. I mean, it was a hotter ticket certainly than the Northwestern game had been the previous week, and the crowd was ready to cheer. There weren't as many Michigan State fans as I thought that there might be, and it was a good turnout. It was not like Northwestern, which, that's a midweek game at 7:00 on a Tuesday night. You're going to struggle to get your fans from Indianapolis and elsewhere down. This was a pretty full crowd. And there were people out at the bars beforehand. I was at the upstairs pub before the game for a little bit, saw some people there, but it was a crowd that was not coming in like amped, and you wouldn't expect them to be. Indiana had lost 3 games in a row up to that point.
So something I wanted to point out to you, I'm not sure if you've already seen this yet, but in that same vein, with Minnesota being another midweek night game, maybe tough to get people out, especially tough to get people out when you're on a 4-game losing streak. Yeah. Did you see that they are doing a Charlie Becker and Bones Jones meet and greet?
I did. I saw that. I was actually talking with our Big Ten or our Back Home Network content crew about going and getting some footage of that for tomorrow.
I mean, awesome that they're going to be there, but in what world did you ever think we'd be living in that you would propose a meet and greet with football players to get people to come to a basketball game?
Right. No, it's just a meet and greet with football players in March.
Easy.
Just in and of itself.
That used to just be like the like the McNutt Foster dining hall.
Right.
Like, that's all it used to be.
I mean, there's a bunch of football activities this week. You've got Becker and Jones in the lobby for an hour and a half before the game, basically. It's a 6:30 tip, which if there's a weeknight version of the low energy tips that we've discussed, that's the time. But
especially on a Wednesday, like Wednesday is not a basketball day.
It's really not. But then there's also like the championship trophy is going to be at Alumni Hall in the Union on Thursday, not Wednesday, but on Thursday. So there's football events going on all over the place. But
you gotta do it.
You got to capitalize, and
right.
A lot of people have not had a chance to get a picture with the trophy yet. So I hope that they do. Well, I mean, you could swing by.
I mean, yeah, it's not coming to St. Louis anytime soon. I have to make the move to get there. I'll be back.
I know. We need to find a time. We just bring the trophy to St. Louis and kind of like treat it like the Stanley Cup and let it travel
around.
Yeah.
But
no, I am concerned about what the vibe will be on Wednesday. Again, I don't think it's going to be hostile because the end of the Woodson era, I think, would have been less fraught if not for Woodson's comments at the end of his second to last season and the very kind of adversarial relationship that developed between Woodson and the team on one side and the fans on the other side over the course of that last year. This isn't that. And now it could grow into that next year if there's continued lack of success. I hope not. I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying, I don't want to discount the idea, but it feels more now like indifference.
Yeah, it's a lot of apathy.
Yeah.
And I think the craziest thing is watching that Michigan State game. You kind of feel like that's the final nail in the coffin for this season. And somehow, some way, they keep popping up in bracketology as the last team in. And I am like, what the heck is going on? Why is the bubble so bad that a 17-12 team is still in the mix?
It does beg the question, as they often say inaccurately, or how is Indiana still in this? But they are. And if they beat Minnesota, they'll still be probably in the field for a lot of people because Minnesota has played pretty well down the stretch, and they're a top 70 team in the net. And we'll get to the bracketology details here in just a second, but that's the thing. It's like you can't completely abandon Indiana as a basketball team if you're a fan. You can't just put them in the closet and say, well, we'll come back and watch what happens in the portal. But it's also been incredibly frustrating because they had a golden opportunity against Michigan State. They didn't take advantage of it. They had a golden opportunity against Northwestern to not go backwards. And ironically, not only did they go backwards by losing to Northwestern, but they boosted Northwestern's metrics enough that now Ohio State has 2 quad 1 wins. One of them's Purdue, and the other one's Northwestern because Northwestern lost at home to Ohio State earlier this year, and that's a top 75 win for the Buckeyes. So it's like they doubly screwed themselves.
They boosted Northwestern's net for Ohio State.
Yes. And now Ohio State is cleanly in the field, I think.
Yeah, and that game, I don't want to look too far ahead, but if you lose to Minnesota, you're in a terrible, 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 terrible spot going to Columbus.
Yes. I mean, let me call this up just so we can all be on the same page. So when you look at my board, not that I am necessarily the guru.
You're the premier bracketologist.
Not the premier bracketologist, Grace. Don't fool the people that way. But let me blow this up a little bit. Okay, so this is our board. These are down here, the last 4 at-large teams. We have Santa Clara, TCU, New Mexico, and Indiana. That is not a great group of teams to be in. How is Indiana in that? And you can see Ohio State is up here, UCLA,
Missouri,
SMU. You got to. All of these teams above are clearly, I think, ahead of Indiana. But then who are the teams that would be in if it wasn't Indiana? So this is essentially the list right now. You have Cal, whose net is 63. You have Florida State, no. You have Virginia Tech. You have Tulsa. You have VCU. You have Seton Hall. You have USC. You have Washington, Baylor, Cincinnati, West Virginia, Nevada, San Diego State. That's essentially.
So you just fully got rid of Auburn?
Well, Auburn's in there too. They're down here.
Good. I was.
But the thing with Auburn, like I'll call Auburn.
They don't deserve to be up, but
they are 15-14 right now. And this is, I often wonder, because one of the things about the committee that we have to remember is that they will wildly misallocate criteria when it comes to who they're picking year over year, team by team. It doesn't make a ton of sense. You look at Auburn, it's like, oh, they have 5 wins against quad 1. That's good. They beat Florida on the road. That's great. But
scroll down to the quad 3 and 4.
Right. You know what? Yeah, they've got a decent amount of those, but they lost to Ole Miss this weekend at home. And as you know, Ole Miss, not a good basketball team this year.
Yeah, and losing to Mississippi State too, also not good.
Yeah, not ideal. And so you look at them and it's like, well, they have the second best strength of schedule in the country, but they're 15-14 and they're 6-10 in their conference, and their Torvik ranking is 45th. So, you know, you look at Indiana and they have almost the inverse resume, where they've only got 2 quad 1 wins and they've only got 2 quad 2 wins. And they do have that loss now to Northwestern, which is just, this is where it's triply frustrating, but their predictives are better than Auburn, and their, you know, conference record is better. Their overall record is better by, they're 5 games above 500 as opposed to 1. And I just don't know that the committee is going to look at a team like Auburn and say, yeah, we're going to reward you for essentially just keeping your head above water. I mean, there's been a lot, not to get too into bracketology, but there's been a lot of talk this week about people getting mad because Bruce Pearl is out there saying Miami of Ohio doesn't deserve to be in as an at-large, but Auburn does. What I would say is that's a false dichotomy. Like, Auburn doesn't deserve to be in the field. Neither does Miami of Ohio if they lose before their conference championship game. That would be what I would say on that. But this is where you look at Auburn. If Auburn makes it in, it's just kind of like, I don't know. That doesn't feel like the type of thing you want to be rewarding if you're the committee.
Also, I wonder why Bruce Pearl is saying that. It's his literal son that's coaching the team.
This is where nepotism sucks in broadcasting, just in general. And
yeah,
it's the same thing with like coaches talking about their former teams even when their sons aren't coaching them. It's like, I can't really trust what you're saying on this, sir. Why are you, or man?
Yeah, I think we should just discard everything Bruce Pearl has to say about Auburn right now.
Among other things, yes. But yeah, it's no, I look at it and I say Indiana still in the mix somehow. And again, and we said this before Northwestern, we said it before Purdue, we said it before Illinois, we said it before Michigan State. We'll say it again here. Just take care of business. Like, you are better than Minnesota, even though they lost to Minnesota on the road earlier this year. You're better than Minnesota. Beat Minnesota. You're probably better than Ohio State. Go on the road and beat Ohio State. Beat whoever your first round opponent is on Wednesday in the Big Ten tournament next week. Well, now you're at 20 wins. And, you know, our buddies over at J-Tom, what was the number? I just recalled this. Right now at 20 wins, Indiana's chances to get in the tournament are up to 56%.
That's how bad the field is that you can get in 50% with 20 wins.
Yeah, it's not good. And look, Indiana does have some things going for them. We've talked about this before, where you have to separate. I think it's probably like, it's like when your dog does something bad. Like, you don't just because the dog did something bad doesn't mean that you don't like the dog anymore.
You still love the dog.
Doesn't deserve treats, even if they did something bad. Maybe not in that moment, but it's the same thing with Indiana basketball. Like, yes, they've disappointed. They've played down to their competition. They haven't showed up in big moments at times, but at 20 wins, they probably would still deserve to be in the field, albeit as a play-in game candidate, likely. And that's what you're looking at here. But you'd rather be in the play-in game than not, because Grace, I have a statistic for you.
Goodness.
We know how much you love the statistics that I cook up.
Let's see.
So I went through and I looked at the number of times that teams have been in the NCAA tournament since the end of the 2016 season.
Oh gosh.
So there's
I'm not going to like this statistic.
There's 9 possible tournaments in there, because of course one of those tournaments was the COVID year. Didn't happen, as you very much remember. So this, I think, illustrates the problem and why you want to get in the tournament desperately for Indiana, but it also illustrates kind of the problem that Indiana fans are confronting right now. So here it is. Purdue and Michigan State have made all 9 tournaments. Michigan and I'm counting projected this year too. So like Purdue's obviously projected to make the tournament. So is Michigan State. Michigan and Wisconsin have made 7 each. Illinois made 6. Maryland's made 5. Ohio State's made 4. If they make it, they'd actually get to 5. I keep going back and forth on them. Iowa's made 4. Northwestern's made 3. Indiana has only made 2, and they're in a grouping with Rutgers, Minnesota, and Nebraska. Only Penn State has made fewer NCAA tournaments in this span.
I thought you said this was going to be a change the vibes, good, happy podcast, and you throw stats like that at me.
I wasn't planning on doing that. I apologize.
That makes me upset. But like, I think I knew it, but I knew we'd only made it twice in the last decade. I didn't know the other schools, and I don't think I wanted to know the other schools.
Right. It really, and this is where, and I want to go back a second to like the booing in Assembly Hall. There have been complaints about this for a while, and I will be the first to say it doesn't, it's a bad look in general if you're booing your own players. I don't advise it. There's 2 things I'll say though. A, this is where the frustration really starts to boil over, and that stat is a great example of the reason why, where it just feels like the program is stuck in neutral or slightly in reverse, and there doesn't seem to be a way to fix it. And you get to the end of a season, and I think people are looking for something to manifest their disappointment and anger at, and unfortunately they're picking players, which I do not recommend doing. The other thing though is like, this is the flip side aspect of guys making 6 figures or more playing basketball, where, again, I'm not advocating for home booing in general, but in the NBA, you boo players and they're professionals, they're getting paid, and it's like, well, they're professionals. It always used to be, well, you can't boo college kids because they're amateurs. And it's like, well, no, that's not really how it works now. And so I do think there's some people who are like, look, if you're playing really badly, I'm going to feel compelled to express myself in a much more negative manner. And the idea that, well, you're doing this for love of the game, that's not exactly the equation anymore, because there's so much money involved. And so, again, not excusing it, but I do think it's important to understand, like, the context has changed a little bit. Still a bad look for fans in general, but I'm not shocked when it happens anymore, you know?
Kind of building off of that connects to it in a way as we look to senior night against Minnesota. Does booing kind of go hand in hand with the fact that, like, there's this disconnect between this roster and the fans? It's completely new. People don't know them the same way that they got to know Trace Jackson Davis over the course of 4 years. There isn't that relationship there, albeit not, like an actual relationship between fan and player. But is it easier to boo a dude you don't really feel like you know?
I think it's a great point, Grace. And I'm not advocating for it.
We're not condoning it.
We're not condoning it. Okay. But I do think that when you consider the lack of connection that most people feel with a roster that nobody on this team right now was on this team last year at this time. And I think when you have a successful season or a decent season, you're going to have generally good vibes, especially if you win on senior night. But if you're struggling, it doesn't surprise me if there is indifference. And even beyond the booing, it's just a weird feeling to have a senior night. And I think there's going to be 6 guys that walk in this senior night, which is a lot. And none of them are really known quantities.
I think Lamar, right?
That's about it. Like, you haven't gotten a ton of inside or insights on Tucker DeVries. You haven't gotten a ton of insights on any of the other guys that are there. And that is going to make for an awkward time tomorrow when I'm in the building, I think, because, if Indiana wins, if they play really well, I think the vibes will be okay. If it's a tight game or heaven forbid they lose, I do wonder if people stick around. And this was something that we
it's
saw
after.
I think so.
Oh yeah, I think I did see something where it was, instead of before, they're doing it after.
And that's historically how it's happened. Now,
really?
Historically, Indiana's always done. And if I'm wrong on this, if it is before,
I can't remember.
We'll figure it out. But if it's before, that's a little bit of a different vibe. But if it's after, you can look it up while I ramble here for a second. But if it's after, I do wonder what that looks like. Like I can recall before the Crean era kind of got going, the senior night in 2011, and there weren't, I think there might have been one or two people there, but it was a pretty lightly attended thing. It felt like everybody left and there were about maybe 3,000 people in the stands. I don't know if it'll be quite like that, but this is where you go back to this idea. And this is where I have people write in comments about the podcast, and they're like, well, if we don't get guys who are here for long periods of time, what are we rooting for? Are we really going to be able to get emotionally invested in players that we don't see that much? And I have generally brushed that off, at least on the football side, because like the football team clearly made a bunch of emotional connections. That was because they were playing well. When you have a team like Indiana that has struggled down the stretch and people are displeased with how things are going, I don't know what that equation looks like for a senior night celebration.
So you're right. For years, it has been after the game. And this switch up makes me think, one, I guess maybe DeVries just wants to do things differently. Two, was there a conversation like, is this place going to empty out if we?
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing that they've switched it, and I appreciate you clarifying that. And I think I had missed that it had actually switched. It's probably smart, and it's something that, you know, the reason why it was after the game for years was because that was how Bob Knight did it. Like it was always after the last game, and they would bring a microphone out, and for years they won. I think like for the first 12 or 13 or 14 years they did it, they only lost their ending game one time, and so it was generally celebratory. And I think as time has gone on, it's like it's too much of a dice roll if the team loses at the end. And of course, you've also got 2 years ago, that senior day celebration was against Michigan State. Indiana wins, but that was the game that Mike Woodson gets on the microphone and does the true fans thing. And like, yeah, so this might be a good time to kind of break the mojo a little bit just in general, especially with this team. But it does bring this basic point out, which is you're now a lot of the traditions that we have in college basketball have been disrupted by this idea that there's so much player movement and there's not a huge amount of stability. And so when you're doing things like senior night celebrations, yes, you want to send people off, but it's just a completely different vibe fundamentally from what it ever has been. And that will be interesting to watch, what the reaction looks like and how they react to people. And even, I mean, are they going to have them talk on the microphone or anything like that? That's always been a hallmark of these things. It sounds like maybe not in this, because I don't know how they would have enough time to do that and still get ready for the game.
Wow, this is really interesting to me, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. I do think there's going to be a good reception regardless, because Indiana fans are compassionate people and want to celebrate these 6 seniors. This is like the odds on this are terrible, so this is not a good bet for me, but I'm going to bet Lamar gets the most applause out of anybody.
Yeah.
You can be the judge of that for me.
I think
I'm betting it with myself. But just looking at the list of guys, I feel like that's the one that fans actually out of the 6 got to know in a sense. And I don't even know if it's but like he made history at IU. So there is that connection there.
Right. No, I think you're right. And I think he's been the most consistent player throughout the course of all of this. Tucker DeVries as well. But, Tucker DeVries will always be tied to his dad as coach. Yeah. And that's not a negative. But it does mean that I think Lamar has had a more direct connection to the fans because he and keep in mind, he was the player out of the portal that got the most fanfare when Indiana signed him. It was a tight battle between Indiana and I think Kentucky and a couple of other teams. I think Louisville might have been in there as well. So I do think there's been a solid bond connection there between the fans and Lamar. So I do hope he gets his flowers, so to speak, in this and is able to enjoy the crowd being positive. And then we'll see what happens with the game itself. It's a tough game. I mean, Minnesota, not a particularly talented team, but Nico Medved, pretty good coach. Ironically, also coached at Drake, albeit for only 1 year. And
so that's the fad with Drake.
I know that there's three former Drake coaches in the Big Ten right now.
Yeah.
So, but they've won 3 out of their last 4. They only lost at Michigan by 10. They just beat UCLA at home. I mean, that's a team that's playing really well. And I'm very curious to see how Indiana handles this situation, because they're playing a team that has shown that they have the capacity to beat some of the better teams in the conference. They beat Michigan State earlier. They beat Iowa earlier, and they beat Indiana already. So,
yes, long time ago, December 3rd was when that happened.
You know, Indiana had not won the Big Ten championship in football. I think we said that last time.
Yeah, we did say that.
Yeah.
Good times. I wish I could go back to December 3rd and relive all of it.
I know. Although we would have known what was happening at that point.
Yes. Well, the idea is there.
I like the idea. We'll workshop it a little bit. It's like, I want the euphoria again.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to know what was coming up at the same time.
Well, you bringing up Drake reminds me we have conference tournaments starting as early as this week.
Yes.
I'm so lucky that I get Arch Madness in my city.
I know.
Which Galen, unironically, is like obsessed with Arch Madness.
I've been trying to go for years, and I have not been able to figure out a way to make it work.
What is your infatuation with it?
When I was first really watching college basketball closely, Arch Madness was always my favorite tournament because the Missouri Valley team that came out of it was always really good. And, you know, great battles. And this goes back, like Indiana State, I remember winning it one year. And that was a really fun story. And I think it was Royce Waltman was coaching them at the time. And they ended up winning a game in the NCAA. Or actually, they didn't win the NCAA tournament game, but they came close, I think. You know, you'd have battles between Northern Iowa and Bradley, and Illinois State had a good year, and Missouri State. It just always felt like there were fun games that happened in that tournament. And I always loved the name Arch Madness. I thought that was cool. And the Missouri Valley is nowhere near the conference that it was like 15 years ago, but it was always a lot of fun to watch those teams play each other. And so, yeah, I've always wanted to go. It just has never worked out timing wise for me.
Well, I will report back this week. I'm going to just the championship game on Sunday. So I'm excited about that. And then the big storyline in conference tournaments right now is the Big 12, who, if you haven't seen this already,
you need to
take a look at it.
Let me call this up.
Call it up. If you're listening, don't look at it while you're driving, but like when you stop driving, pull over and look up what this court looks like for the Big 12 championship. It is an LED glass basketball court. I don't know how that logistically works, but it looks like it works.
Yeah, and so basically they can control it off of an iPad, and they can make it look like anything they want. It just changed to Cincinnati. Now it's at Colorado. They can change the logos. They can change placement of certain things. And I mean, it's gimmicky. You know, there's no question about that, but it's also really cool looking. They just changed it back like that. It's at Arizona. It's one of those things you see and you can say, well, that's unnecessary if you're that type of person.
No, it's very necessary.
You and I are not those types of people.
Yeah. And the Big 12 commissioner is an IU grad.
He is. Brett Yormark.
So I like to think there's a Hoosier behind it.
I'm wondering, would he consider like a gift to buy a glass court for Assembly? I mean, we just redid the court at Assembly Hall.
Yes, it's a little less yellow now, which is nice.
Yes.
But I would love a glass court.
You played more competitive basketball than I did.
Barely.
What I wonder what falling on a glass court feels like.
I'm also thinking like dribbling on a basketball court, dribbling on a glass court. Does that have a different feel to it?
Right.
Like basketball players are so particular in general about like dribble, bounce, whatever, like you see them like pregame, they feel all the different basketballs they have and are like, this is the one I like. Yeah. You know, one's like a little bit too aired up. That's too bouncy. Like how is this new like texture? I don't know if there's a different texture or weight to it, but like, how is that going to affect the dribble? And is it going to piss off some of these like type A basketball players who are like, this is not how I want my basketball to dribble?
I mean, it seems like everything pisses off basketball players.
That's fair.
I'd be shocked if this didn't. I'm wondering, so they talk about how they can change all of the court settings on an iPad. How secure is this iPad?
They have to have some serious malware on that thing, right?
Right. I mean, I mean, if you can tap into Bluetooth on a television 50 feet away and get it to change things, I worry about the hacking possibilities with
I'm
this,
sure
especially
the Big 12 has thought through these things, right?
Are you
Hopefully.
Sure? I mean, I'm at this point, I'm more surprised when somebody in college athletics has thought through something than when they haven't. So I don't know if they have. They might just be like, yeah, this will be great. No problems. We won't have to worry about anything at all. And then
look, if it does get hacked, I'm not saying I want it to get hacked. It would be kind of funny.
Depending on what they hack it with. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
nothing like too bad. Just like a little playful hack.
Like the ACC coming in and like putting their logo on the middle.
That would be funny. Yeah.
Yes, I could, or maybe like the Mountain West. It's like we're getting revenge because you stole some of our teams, so we're going to, or maybe the Pac-12 just rebrands. They're like, we're taking over your court. You can't do anything about it.
That would rock.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of possibilities. I'm excited to see what it looks like. Are they going to change? Like, they're just keeping the Big 12 logo, I assume.
I don't know. I have a feeling they wouldn't spend all of the money.
That's true.
On a glass court to just keep it the same the whole time. That would feel like a waste.
Are you going to, like, for warm-ups, we're going to change it to Colorado. And then we'll change it at halftime to the other team.
Or maybe better yet, maybe during warm-ups, Colorado's side looks like Colorado.
And then
like Arizona State's on the other side looks like Arizona State.
There should be like a little halftime show on it too. I'm sure they have these things in the works.
Maybe wiener dogs.
Oh my gosh. Like if you haven't, another thing you need to see that Galen sent me today was wiener dog race, which, those are a fad. Like people do them all the time at a hockey game.
Yes.
On ice with like maybe 30 wiener dogs.
There's a lot of wiener dogs. Yeah.
That wasn't something I ever knew was a possibility and I needed it.
I saw it. I was like, that feels custom built for Grace. I'm going to send this. Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We've got some other stuff to talk about, including some of the best moments from Indianapolis this week as IU had some football players at the Combine. Stick with us right after this.
When the final buzzer sounds in Bloomington, the conversation starts here. The assembly call is IU basketball. Live post-game shows, smart midweek breakdowns, and no empty hot takes. Jared Morris, Coach Brian Tonsoni, Andy Bottoms, and Ryan Phillips dissect lineups, sets, and recruiting so you know what really happened and what it means for the Big Ten season, March, and beyond. Join the live chat on YouTube, then catch the podcast on Spotify and Apple. Just search Assembly Call and be part of Hoosier Nation's most trusted post-game tradition.
Okay, football time.
So it was a good week for IU last week and actually bled a little bit into this week as Indiana had how many players at the Combine, Grace?
Was it 9? It
was 9, yes.
Yeah, program record, 9. Insane.
I was counting. Yes.
Yeah.
But we had talked about this, and there were some great quotes from players at the Combine about a variety of things. And we had a couple that we wanted to just play and react to. So we're going to do that. I wanted to start off. A couple of the guys were asked what their favorite Cignetti moments were. And there were some great responses. I want to get I love the D'Angelo Pons one first. So let's play that one to start with.
I'll tell you the story of when I transferred from JMU to Indiana. Just him recruit me. I took my visit to Indiana, and I was with my dad at the visit. We were meeting with Coach Cig, and we were going over the schedule of who we were about to play and things like that. My dad was like, "Yeah, we definitely should go to a bowl game, no doubt." Coach Cig looked at him and bowl game, we're going to win it all, and it came true. So just for that, I feel like that's a full circle moment.
Angelo's ceiling was too low.
I mean, has a man called more shots than Curt Cignetti has in his first 2 years at Indiana. My God.
I wish I had the confidence of that man.
I think many have the confidence.
True. The ability to follow through.
It's the ability to manifest what you say into actual things that occur. It's wizard-like. It's wild.
I love that he was just looking at it. It was like, yeah, bowl game.
Yeah.
Bowl game for sure. And Sig is like, don't even dare mention bowl game.
We're going to win it
That
all.
is not the goal.
I love it. We also heard from Riley Nowakowski, who had a great anecdote about something that happened relatively early in the year, this past year.
It was, I think it was Illinois or something, and Bert was in the game, and Bert pulled like 4 runs, dude. Like, we were on the inside zone. He kept pulling it, and then after like the 4th time he made it, it was a terrible read. He should have given the ball off. I think he lost like 2 yards or so. And he like in the middle of the game, he tells our coach, like, yo, get Bert over here. You know, and so Bert's like, what? Like, it's the middle of a game. Like, what are you doing when he runs over the sideline, bro? And he goes, we're not paying you to run the ball, hand the ball off, right? And we're up like 70 points, where he's pissed off, yelling at Bert. And then he just turned back at me and just like gave me like one of his little smiles, bro. And he was just like, you like that now? Like, yeah, that was good. That was good.
They all have an insane Sig impression. It's so funny.
It is, and it's great because, I mean, you can hear there's like genuine respect, but it's also kind of like, this guy is nuts in the best possible way. And
I also love that I didn't realize they called Alberto Bert.
That was news to me, Tess. One of the
I'm like,
reasons
who's Bert?
Yeah, that's Alberto Mendoza, for those who weren't following along, who did pull a lot of runs, I will say.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what he's talking about, but as Riley pointed out, they were up like 70 in that game. Still not good enough.
Nope. Gotta do what you gotta do. We gotta get Kobe Martin some carries.
I love that he's like, this is what we're not paying you to do this. He's treating them like pro athletes.
See? That's part of what we were talking about earlier. Exactly. We also had one from Elijah Sarratt, which was similar to another anecdote that we heard, but I think summarized, kind of the feel-good aspect to the way that all of this ended up.
I think these last 3 years,
what's your favorite memory of that?
him smiling at the end of that championship game. You don't get too many smiles from him. A lot of players are nervous to talk to him because you always got that face on him. But I've been with him 3 years, so I can go up to him, poke jokes with him. We got a good relationship. But just seeing that genuine smile that he had after when that clock struck 0, man, it was a great feeling.
That's wholesome.
It really is. It's and I've heard a few things like that. I think Lewis Moore said something similar. It is, and this is where I think what I've been struck by the most as I've heard players talking about Cignetti more openly since the season ended. It's always some variation of the same thing. It's not that he's mean, it's that he's very businesslike, he's very direct, and he expects a lot, and then when you get him to smile, it's almost like a reward for you because you've earned that smile with everything that you did.
Yeah, that's the best thing you could ever earn in life is the Cignetti smile, right? Like,
right.
I'm sure, obviously, to Elijah winning the national championship is huge, but like after knowing Sig for 3 years and seeing him smile like that had to hit completely different.
Yeah, Aiden Fisher had a similar comment about right after the Peach Bowl on the podium. Getting Cignetti to smile genuinely in that moment was really an accomplishment for him. So we also got some more Fernando Mendoza. We didn't get any Alberto in this, but we got a lot of Fernando. A couple of quotes we'll just go with here. One I know you will enjoy immediately.
But right now I'm unemployed. I have no job. So this is my job interview right now. And like everyone says, it's the most important job interview of your life. So right now I'm just trying to do everything to hopefully get employed in April 23rd.
Yeah, he doesn't have to wait very long to get employed.
Oh,
I'll tell you that.
Yeah, he's open to work, and I think work's going to find him very quickly.
He will be I think a lot of Kelly grads have not easy time. A lot of Kelly grads get a lot of really good jobs. He might be the Kelly grad school grad that finds work the easiest out of all of the Kelly grads to ever exist. He is the most sought after.
On the flip side, though, most Kelly grads have a job by like the end of October.
He's late.
Yeah, he's real late.
Oh my gosh, he's on that media school schedule. You don't get a job locked down until April.
I was gonna say, if you get a job in media in April, graduating in May, you're doing pretty well for yourself.
Yeah, that's when I got mine.
That's right.
Ooh, whole month of knowing where I'm going. But you're right. That's a good point. He's in this weird in limbo. That's not how Kelly kids work.
No, it's got to be driving him nuts. He's probably getting razzed like in the business fraternity, and it's just we someone needs to draft him early and just be like, we're taking him. End of story. That way
he's employed. He can put it on his LinkedIn.
I got a signing bonus. It's great. I'm going to go pick out my apartment somewhere. Let's get Fernando employed. We got another quote from Fernando.
As a child, you kind of get thrown into the fire. You get thrown in all these different sports. But I believe the thing that made football so special to me was the strategy of the game, the way that you really had to combine with your teammates for a positive result. Football is not a one-man game. It's in tackle football, it's an 11-man game. At that point, I was playing flag football, which is like a 5-man game. And at that point, combine with the strategy, because if you're not the smartest, you can still outwill your way in physical. If you're not the fastest, you can always be smart and and have good instincts. And there's just so many different angles that you can be successful in, and I just love the variety in that. If you see all the NFL superstars, there's no cookie cutter mold that you need to be.
This man took his flag football seriously.
He did. He's also a philosopher. I love this. This is actually how I think about football. It's like it's all shapes and sizes within reason, but basketball feels very linear to me. If you play basketball, you realize like the people that are the tallest and the most athletic and can dribble or shoot the best are just the best at what they do. I love that Fernando has philosophized football to the point where he feels very confident in saying, yeah, I love the strategy and I love the fact that I have to account for all these different variables. You don't get that a lot in combine quotes, I would say.
It's like going back to him wanting to have a job right now. Like his brain needs to be stimulated. Yeah. He needs all of this.
He might need to start a podcast, Grace.
I would listen to it.
Well, yeah.
All the time. Who would he do it? Would he do it by himself, or like, do you think he should do it with someone?
Doesn't he bring Max on to do the podcast with
Max
him?
Is the host.
Yeah, because I think Fernando needs someone to throw him questions.
Yeah.
And so that he can riff on
Max has a lot of questions.
Right. But that would be like an Inception style thing for you, right? Since you've talked about how you feel like Max is the younger version of Fernando.
Yeah, it's like literally having middle school you interview you, which I guess is the concept of siblings. But
not always. They're not always
true. They're not.
If your sister interviewed you, that would be like two completely different people.
No, she is she's that Kelly kid I was talking about.
Yes.
Cookie cutter. She's got her, she doesn't realize sometimes, God love her, but like that we work completely different jobs, and she'll call me at like 3 p.m. on a Friday and be like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, dude, I'm literally at work right now. She's like, oh, sorry, I just wanted to talk to you. And I'm like, thank you for thinking of me, but like I don't get to work from home on a Friday.
Call me at 9 a.m. and maybe you'll catch me. Yeah.
Yeah. No, she's funny, but you're right. But Max and Fernando are just one and the same. And I guess it's illustrated because Alberto is like pretty different from Fernando.
Right. Yeah. Alberto definitely has the kind of middle child. Bert has the middle child vibe going. Absolutely. So, yeah. One last quote I wanted to play, not from the combine, but this was actually an interesting clip that Bryant Haines gave. It wasn't a clip, it was a quote, but it was clipped out of an AFCA podcast that he did. He got asked a question about Bloomington and the Indiana fan base. And to set this up, like Bryant Haines, as I think some of you know, was a grad assistant at IU well before, like it was like 2012 or something like that. And actually also coached for Urban Meyer for a little while, I think for one season, hooked up with Cignetti, and then ended up largely with Cignetti. There were a couple of years he was not there. But because he'd been in Bloomington, he was talking with Cignetti when Cignetti was considering taking the job. And so I thought this was a really interesting clip that I wanted to play.
Yeah, I'll tell you the same thing I told Coach Cignetti, because he pulled me in, again, kind of being on the front end of some of those decisions. Not that I was making the decision, but just, he's willing to ask for my advice on things, especially knowing that I had been there. What I told him was, Coach, last time I was there, it was a bad situation. I didn't think we had the right guys on the bus. And what I told him was, the facilities are there. I know the fan base. If you can wake them up, if you can get them out of that coma they've been in, I said that place will take off. And I truly believe that. I told him it would take, it's probably going to take an overhaul of the roster, just getting some of the people that are here that don't believe out and getting people that do believe in.
Yeah.
But I said, Coach, I think you can be highly successful there with the right organization. Plus, I had been with Coach long enough now. I had seen him do this. I had seen him do this with my own eyes. Take over an IUP program and bring it back to brilliance. Yeah. Take over an Elon, a struggling Elon. Like, I knew what he was capable of. If I could be right there with him to get it done, I just felt so confident that he'd get it done. And that's what I told him. And I think it was the next day we were rolling.
Yeah, amen.
He also called his shot.
He did. Thank you, Bryant Haines, for not shooting down the Indiana idea as folly. Maybe a sliding doors moment there. I don't know.
I also think there was something poetic about the flag flying behind his head. I don't know if you noticed that.
It was beautiful. It was.
Like, that flag hasn't been down in how long?
I know. I see it every time I drive by. I was over to athletics yesterday, and I drive by and I see the flag, and I'm like, let's just keep this thing up as long as we possibly can.
This reminds me, my sister's senior year at IU was Cignetti's first year. And I said something about the flag always being up because they were winning that year. And she was like, no, the flag is always up. Like, they don't take it down. And I was like, no, Gabby, like, they take the flag down if they lose. And she was like, no, you're wrong. Like, literally the flag is always flying. And I'm like, yes, because they don't lose this year. Like,
haven't lost. That's right.
I can promise you the flag was not flying my senior year.
Yeah, it was up and down a lot, more down than up for
the flag people have had a nice little vacation from it.
Well, then you heard it stuck, right? Like it can't come down. Yeah, maybe they fixed this, but like for the last month of the season, they couldn't take it down.
So did they tell Cignetti this, and they were like, you know what, we can't take the flag down. You guys just have to win.
I think that's exactly what they told him. Yes.
But that's problematic. How, like, what were the mechanics of the flagpole?
I might have been an urban legend, but I heard this from multiple people that there was some kind of mechanical issue with the flagpole and they couldn't get it down. And so they just haven't had to at this point, which is great.
I love pushing my problems off. And that's what the flagpole has done.
Yeah, I love pushing my problems off too, which I probably need to stop doing at some point here. But
if Indiana keeps winning, then they don't need to address the problem.
And right, what problems could one have if Indiana keeps winning at football?
None
whatsoever. So anyway,
we
great
won't
week.
Remind ourselves of the problem that we currently face, which is the bubble.
But you know what? Even that might have solutions in it at the end of the day, because either they're going to work their way off the bubble, or you get an early start to the off season and you can start to fix problems that way. That's right. It's, it'll be portal season before we know it, one way or the other.
That's crazy.
We're almost out of time. There was something you were going to tell me, and
Oh no, it was I didn't say it as funny. The meet and greet. I didn't know that you'd already seen the Bones Jones.
Oh yes, I did.
Charlie Becker meet and greet. That was what I wanted to save, but you'd already seen it, so it wasn't funny.
Sorry, it was funny. I just ruined it by having read.
You ruined it by being too online. But I do think it's funny because we did discuss previously in an episode, like, how do we get people engaged in Indiana basketball? The solution is to just bring Indiana football.
Put the football in the basketball.
Yeah, but like Isaiah and Charlie are going to be busy at some point. We can't keep renting them out.
Well, we have to bring new people over, right?
Yeah,
like
there's a big roster.
Have like a kickoff with Nico Radicic or something in the lobby of Assembly Hall. That was a bad idea, but
I like it.
Like,
I like it.
There's things that could be done, Absolutely.
Yes.
We just have to find what those things are. And
well, it starts with the win, but.
Well, it'll be an interesting week. Obviously, Indiana plays with Wednesday night against Minnesota. And then, of course, we also want to wish good luck to IU women's basketball.
Yes.
They made the Big Ten tournament. This was a turnaround that not a lot of people had really talked about too much, Grace. But
right. They're the 13 seed.
Yes, they are. They play Nebraska in the first round of the tournament. So they play the 12 seed. It's Wednesday. So by the time some of you are watching or listening to this, both of these games will have likely already happened. But congratulations to Chesky, who made first team All Big Ten for the media. I'm still trying to figure out how on earth she only made second team for the coaches.
Snubbed.
To the point that, let me find her tweet here. Tyra Buss Davison had a tweet earlier today. One of the biggest snubs I've ever seen. 50, 40, 90 club, averaged over 23 points per game, and the Big Ten coaches voted her second team. Please tell me how that makes sense. Can't wait for her to go off in the Big Ten tourney. She was absolutely. We talked about Lamar Wilkerson on the men's side. Shea Chesky kind of had that type of season for the women's team. Just a great individual season, one of the best we've ever seen.
That's awesome for her, and I wish
at Indiana.
Yes,
to clarify, but yes, go on.
I do hope that she goes off in the Big Ten tournament, just kind of like as a screw you.
Yeah, it would be nice. I mean, and this is one of those seasons where things got off to a poor start, but I give them a lot of credit. I mean, they dug themselves out of an 0-10.
Yeah, they could have thrown the towel in.
Yeah. So that's coming up, and then of course on Sunday, while you're watching Arch Madness, the championship game, Indiana and Ohio State will be locked in Mortal Kombat out in Columbus. So a lot to go on here. And then, of course, at that point, we'll finally figure it out where Indiana basketball is going in terms of the Big Ten tournament. And I think spring ball starts at some point here soon for football. So all kinds of things going on the Bloomington athletics scene.
Yes, lots and lots to talk about, lots to watch. And hopefully next time we're talking, it is maybe on a happier note. So that'll do it for Crimson Cast this week. For Galen Clavio, I'm Grace Ybarra. Stay never daunted.
Catch you folks on the flip side. So long, everybody.